Lots and lots of Chelsea news. Hey, what's going on, friends, and welcome on back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. I do hope you're doing well, mate. As always, I really do hope that, and welcome on back. Welcome on back to Chelsea News, of course, the daily series here on the channel where I reflect on everything that's being said, or at least some things that are being said about Chelsea on the internet, giving you my thoughts, feelings, and opinions on it. But as always, more importantly, asking for yours. Today, we're reacting to an exclusive story on Give Me Sport about Mark Guiu being unhappy. But surely he's locked down to Chelsea now he's played. Remember, you can't play for 3 clubs in one season. But does that mean he could return to Sunderland? Ooh la la. And yes, this story rotates around like a bad smell, coming and going every now and again, but apparently Chelsea would consider offers for Enzo Fernandez. Does that mean this the reason why Chelsea were looking at certain players that could play that role in Fermin Lopez? Apparently there is a plan to accept an offer they can't refuse. This is coming from Football Insider. Again, exclusive, if you believe. I mean, it's probably exclusive to them. Some geezers probably just said to them, I've got an exclusive for you. But to be fair, that story's never gone away. So we'll react to that as well. Fabrizio Romano reiterating Chelsea's desire to sign Fermin Lopez. Of course, we put an official bid in for him. And are those stories linked? Because Fermin can play in that sort of Enzo Fernandez role. Remember, Facundo Buonanotte is only on loan. There's no long-term plan for him there. Starts to make you think, doesn't it? With that, a little bit of fun, we'll do some data comparison stuff, because you guys seem to like it. And hey, I'm here to serve you. We'll look at the aforementioned Enzo Fernandez versus Fermin Lopez, who, by the way, apparently Maresca really likes. I'm not saying he doesn't like Enzo Fernandez. I know we've seen them arguing a lot, but, you know, he plays him all the time, he trusts him, Fernandez scores and assists for him. So we'll speak about it. Look, we always said there's the untouchables at Chelsea. And there was one player that's sort of on the edge of the untouchables. And by untouchables, I mean they would never sell. And that is Fernandez. He's on the cusp. On the cusp. So we'll do the data comparisons. Also using Data MB. And by the way, let me know if you like this stuff, because I'm considering buying the Pro version. Spending some money so I can show you guys even better metrics. Look, you know me, I love stats. So I'll consider doing that if you guys dig it. And finally, I do want to do a quick comparison using the same platform of Chelsea, Man City and Liverpool. What I would consider the best of the rest at the moment, with Arsenal being top of the Premier League. So it's going to be a ruddy good video. It really is. So strap yourselves in. As always, I'll thank you for joining me. Thank you for liking the video, for subscribing to this channel, etc. Remember, you're all welcome. But if you do choose to subscribe, make sure you hit the bell so you get notified when I upload, which is every day. Alright, mate. Apart from, oh yeah, what else? Hype points. They're new. They're fun. Down here, you swipe. You're hype. God, that's so annoying that rhymes. Anyway, let's get into it. We're going to start with this article from Give Me Sport talking about Mark Guiu's unhappiness. Andrew Dillon writes the following. Guiu is eyeing a dramatic January return to Sunderland as his frustrations grow at Chelsea. The teenage striker is becoming increasingly fed up with the lack of game time at his parent club following an emergency recall from the Stadium of Light. Guiu was particularly frustrated when being overlooked for Tariq George, who of course isn't even a striker in the Champions League. Yes, I would be frustrated as well. The Spain youth international is now keen to resurrect a temporary switch back to Sunderland during the next transfer window. Of course, he did get a few minutes against Liverpool on Sunday. This means that he cannot play for any other teams bar the Blues and for the newly promoted Sunderland team this season. Players can only turn out for 2 different clubs in one campaign, so actually there's no rules preventing him going back to Sunderland. Wow, this is interesting. Now, of course, by the time the transfer window shut, Sunderland bought all kinds of players, and it turned out Mark Guiu wasn't a starter, but he was getting minutes, and he was playing in the cup for them, of course, scored a nice header, and he even did like quite an emotional goodbye on his Instagram when he got recalled. Like, the season had just started, and he was like, it was short but sweet. Yada yada yada, and I can understand, maybe he felt welcomed, maybe he felt like, yeah, I can see myself here. Chelsea ripped him back, and I kind of understand that we've, you know, got over that to death. But it's interesting to read that there's nothing in the rules for him to return back and move again. Would we see that? I'm not entirely sure. So when Maresca kept saying in press conference, he will play for us, he will get minutes for us, he wasn't lying. He gave him some good minutes against the champions in Liverpool. But at that point, everyone was like, well, now he's locked in at Chelsea, he can't go into that other loan. But I wonder if at the back of their heads, Chelsea, they were thinking, well, if he needs to go back to Sunderland, he'll probably go back to Sunderland and we might do something else in January. I'm not suggesting that Chelsea are going to buy a striker in January. But maybe by then, Liam Delap's back and firing. Tyreek George, I don't want to see him play a striker. Look, genuinely, if you ask me, Jan, what would you want? I keep Mark Guiu. I play him as a striker. I try and get the best out of him. I just say, even if it's, look, mate, just press the living so-and-sos out of the back line. Just make a nuisance of yourself. Be physical. So Joao Pedro, Stevao and them man behind can have a better time. I'd keep him. He's there. He's available. He's a good guy. He's a strong player. Just keep him. Give him more minutes. Yeah? Don't send him back to Sunderland. Unless this story about Ivan Toney coming in January is true. Again, that guy on X has posted that. I'm not going to talk about it anymore until anyone else. I refuse to cite that source until I hear it from anyone else reputable. Keep Mark Guiu. Let's move on. Alright, here's your exclusive from Football Insider. Pete O'Rourke, transfer correspondent, has written the following. Chelsea are bracing for offers for Enzo Fernandez after his exceptional start to this campaign. Sources have told Football Insider that Real Madrid are eyeing up a signing for the Chelsea midfielder. He's in his third season in West London, with Fakana Buonanotte learning from Fernandez in training, highlighting his gravitas at the club. Why are we even mentioning Buonanotte? The Argentine is one of Maresca's go-to men as he continues to get admirers across Europe. Now, this article goes on to say Chelsea would accept an offer over £100 million. Now, Enzo Fernandez cost Chelsea £105 million, two and a bit seasons ago, whenever it was. God, when was it? It was January, wasn't it? My brain is melting. Nearly 3 years ago. I think. Anyway, his book value will be a lot less than £100 million now. So it would represent a huge book profit if Chelsea accept this offer for Enzo Fernandez. Also, Chelsea got really favourable payment terms when they bought him from Benfica. I think Chelsea paid like £30 million up front for an £105 million player, and then it would come in loads of instalments. So it was really nicely done in the accounts, spread lots and lots and lots. And of course, that was when you could still amortise the cost of the player across the whole length of his 7-8 year contract. So from an accounting perspective, despite costing a lot of money, it was a win. And you could probably make a strong argument that Fernandez is an £100 million player. He's a World Cup winner, he's a Club World Cup winner, he's scoring, he's assisting, he's a vice captain, he's always available, and his running numbers are actually incredible, like the ground he covers. I know he's not fast, but he presses and covers so much ground, which is, a sign of a great player, basically. I've said it before, and boy howdy, I'll say it again. I do think he is like a Real Madrid style player. I can totally understand why they look at him. He's got that sort of superstar aesthetic, like the white teeth, the sort of the tattoos. Tattoos are cool, right? I think you know what I mean, though. He sort of gives off that sort of Sergio Ramos-y or pretty boy Galactico vibe. Do you know what I mean? And he's the kind of player they like. Tenacious, combative, cultured on the ball. They're always talking about how they need to replace Modric, Casemiro and Toni Kroos. He would kind of begin to restart that. Obviously, they got a Bellingham in there. I guess sort of Camavinga, Tchouaméni, I don't know which one's really rising up to it. But a player like Enzo Fernandez will certainly be filling a hole in their midfield. Now, do I want to sell Enzo Fernandez? Probably not. I really like the player. I like how he's a fighter and he's I don't think he's necessarily Chelsea till he dies, but while he's wearing the shirt, he is, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? I don't think he grew up watching Chelsea, wanting to play for Chelsea, but while he's wearing the shirt, he'll kiss the badge, he'll fight for his team, he'll run till the very end, and that's a superb asset to have in your team. He is the vice captain, lest we forget. Maresca does heavily rely on him. Now, Maresca does seem often frustrated with him. It's almost like, I have to play you because you're good, you're a leader, and you'll fight, and I know you've got quality. but he often, they can argue a little bit on the touchline. He bites back a little bit, Fernandez to Maresca, which is probably actually quite a good thing in some ways. But I do wonder, because he's not untouchable, like, let's just see the two most obvious. Cole Palmer and Moises Caicedo. They're irreplaceable, yeah? I mean, people might say about Caicedo is the most irreplaceable now in terms of looking at certain talented attackers for Chelsea, but in reality, Palmer's still our best player. Like, you know, you can add your Reece Jameses, your Cucureas, your Cole Wills, your Stevaus, and everyone's favourite along the way. I just sneezed. The two like unarguable, the two you can't argue about is Cole Palmer and Moises Caicedo, and you just need them. They can't go anywhere because they will be the kind of players that elevate Chelsea to Premier League winners with consistently better players around them. Now that includes Fernandez being a consistently good player around him. You know, is he in the untouchables? The kind of briefing is that maybe he isn't, and he's always just been on the cusp. Chelsea would like to keep him. Generally, I think lots of Chelsea fans would definitely like to keep him. I would hate for him to go to another club in the Premier League. I'd be like, no, you're getting a wicked player there. There's no way you can have him. In the same way, like, Chelsea would sell certain players to rivals, this new Chelsea, that they think will make them better, but, you know, we can survive without them. Havertz, Kovacic, Mount, you know, even Madueke to Arsenal. Like, yeah, we're selling you players that make you better, but we don't think this is going to be, like, catastrophic. It's not going to make you title contenders and sting us. I do think Enzo Fernandez, selling him to a direct rival would be a catastrophe. But, you know, when they go to Real Madrid, you know, if the one club you go, oh yeah, off you go, then whatever. Especially if you get a lot of money like Eden Hazard. I mean, Eden Hazard should have never have left, but he followed his dream. I was like, fine. If you're going to go, you might as well just go there, away, go wear the, you know, the Los Blancos kit. And to be honest, I can sort of see Enzo Fernandez as a Real Madrid player. 100 million, look, the truth is, that particular profile of player playing in that left pocket at the moment, Maresca has already said he sees Andre Santos as that style of player. Now, people must not sleep on Santos. He is an amazing talent, yeah? That when he settles into the Chelsea shirt, he will demonstrate his immense ability. He got 10 goals from midfield in the league last season in Ligue 1. He's very combative. He too is cultured as well. He's really good at tackling. Like, I'd sort of rely on Santos a lot more to put a tackle in than Fernandez. I'm not saying he's better than Enzo Fernandez. He's different, but he can play that role better. You know, he can press and stuff. And also there's other players as well. So it's very interesting to hear that this story won't go away. And Chelsea looking at players that can sort of play in that left pocket, left 10, inside a winger, you know, in front of a CDM or something. Which brings us to Fermin Lopez. Joe Williams cites the quotes from Fabrizio Romano. Regarding Fermin Lopez, Chelsea really appreciate him. They see great potential and he can cover multiple roles and could develop into something special. Chelsea made a late bid for him in the final days of the summer transfer window, showing ambition and testing whether Fermin might be tempted. But Fermin was very clear he wanted to stay at Barca. Any future move would involve a different valuation of the 40 million euros Chelsea offered. Now, look, Fermin coming out afterwards and saying, yeah, I wanted to stay at Barca, was always his default position, what he was going to say. Chelsea put in a very small bid for him, and it was an entry level, like, what do you think? But I do wonder, after a season of Chelsea playing maybe some way, hopefully getting better, you know, a slot opening up, how much he's trusted under Hansi Flick, how well Barcelona are going, are they doing well, are they going to slip off a little bit? I do wonder if Chelsea will go back in for him, because of course the stories were suggesting that manager Enzo Maresca got on the blower to him a few times, obviously being a Spanish speaker, trying to convince him to come to Chelsea. You can make your own mind up whether you believe those stories. But he is a player that can play in a similar position that Enzo Fernandez plays in the Maresca system, and maybe that negotiation gets reopened and he comes in to replace Enzo Fernandez, because you will need to replace him. I do think Chelsea have leaders on the pitch. Of course, captain Reece James is captain. Moises Caicedo has worn the captain's armband. I do think he'll just take the vice-captaincy off Enzo Fernandez as the best, you know, midfielder in the Premier League. That's probably a good role. You could give it to someone like Cucurella. Heck, when he comes back from injury, Levi Colwill, I think, is captaincy, you know, material massively. Like, he's a captain in the making. So in terms of like young leaders, I don't think you necessarily need to fill that void of Fernandez. Now look, let's jump over to some data stuff now. I want to show you a data comparison between Fernandez, always being linked to Real Madrid, and again, and of course Fermin Lopez, who we've been talking about. Here we go. Now this is Fermin Lopez last season, Enzo Fernandez this season. I'm not sure why it's presented like that, but here we go. Fernandez has started the season very well, so it's a good amount of data, and still over 700 minutes for Fernandez. As you can see, pink, red is Enzo, and Fermin is in yellow. Now, the big difference is Fermin is a much more creative player in terms of forward passes and key passes and progressive passes. He's a bit of a better dribbler as well. Fernandez is better with duels. Sorry, he makes more forward passes, but the forward pass percentage is better with Fermin. Sorry, I should have said that. You were looking really as a more sort of like combative goal scorer. He's not very fast, Fernandez, but with Fermin, you're looking at a little bit more of a cultured playmaking player that will try and sort of feed goals into other forwards. Of course, he's got a good, he's got a goal in it himself as well. Forward pass percentage is over 70%, 71%. Fernandez, not so much. Fernandez probably does play a little bit deeper as well in his defense. Well, if that actually happens, he should be making more forward passes. So maybe Fernandez is playing ahead of Fermin, which doesn't make any sense to me at all. Of course, Fermin is 2 years younger as well, so he's got a longer future ahead of him. Now, they're not necessarily direct replacements. It does, it's really interesting how the report suggested the Chelsea manager likes Fermin, and of course Chelsea made a bid. It is really interesting. I believe the previous story in I don't think Chelsea have put a for sale sign on Enzo Fernandez. He's certainly not got massive wages they're trying to get rid of. I know he's one of the higher paid players like Caicedo, but he's still got bought in the new structure of low wage. So, teams like Real Madrid, he will not be priced out of a move. They'll go, yeah, we'll take your 170k a week or whatever and double it, easy. And he'll go, thank you very much. Because they pay huge wages, of course. I see it happening, possibly. If a big bid comes in, Chelsea will get around the table. It's part of their model. Yeah, they'll be like, how will this make us better? We've grown a lot with Enzo. We've learned a lot about the system. We can make a lot of money here. Will it make us worse, basically, because we're going to buy this guy and he could make us better? I like Enzo Fernandez. I think he is, I don't say he's proper Chelsea, because I do think maybe he would go to Real Madrid. I'm just getting that from instinct. I'd love him to stay, but there are certain circumstances and instances where I'd understand that he leaves. Anyway, make sure you comment your thoughts on that down below. And finally, I want to use one more data set comparison and look at Chelsea as a team. Of course, we've been using this platform for players. But Arsenal top of the league, they're having a really good season. It's horrid stuff, I know, but the best of the rest, and I include Liverpool in that now, Liverpool, Man City, and I'm going to say Chelsea as well. I'm just putting Chelsea in there. I wanted to do a stats comparison. Oh, pull it on my mic lead. Stats comparison and show you that now. So here we go. Chelsea are represented rather appropriately in blue, Man City in green, and Liverpool in yellow. Now, Chelsea are the weakest team out of these three teams so far this Premier League campaign. Liverpool are still the strongest, and I don't actually think they've been playing that well, of course, being represented in the yellow line here, and Man City are in the green. Man City's pressing is way down, which is crazy. They've gone super direct. Big man in goal, big man up top, and Liverpool's pressing's been the best. Chelsea, I think, we're really low on counter-attacks, but that is kind of by design. Maresca doesn't want to play counter-attacking football, even though we do quite well with counter-attacks. I think we probably need to get a few more counters up there. Really, other than that, Chelsea look really balanced as a team. That shape on the graph is actually really positive. A few more counters in there. The physicality is kind of fine, but we're a young team, do you know what I mean? We don't need to necessarily beat up the opposition. The pressing's good. To be honest, everything's kind of good. It just needs to be increased a little bit more consistency, but it shows you how good they are there. I'll do more updates with like general team statistics as we go, as and when, but I wanted to show you that for the moment because I find it interesting. I'll also use other platforms as well to mix it up. So yeah, let me know what you think. If you do like this kind of stuff, hop aboard, do consider liking and subscribing to this channel, Football Therapy. And yeah, I do hope to see you back here very soon. Take care. Peace.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy talk. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought. Body bag the verse, outlined in chalk. In my life seen trouble, hustle on the double, silence on the trigger like my pick got a muzzle. Yo, chick like to guzzle, bad boy stay in trouble. I only love this paper, sorry I don't. I laugh me, baby.